Hello and welcome to Jolineknitsalot. This is my show about knitting and crafting and the things I get up to here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. How have you been? I've had a busy couple of weeks. I've been a few places, I've seen a few things. I got a few crafty things that I'd like to share with you. But how have you been? I hope you've been enjoying yourself, whatever that means. Maybe that means not doing much of anything, or maybe that means doing all the things. Whatever it is that suits you best, I hope that you've been getting up to it. When last we spoke, it was Edmonton Folk Fest weekend, and my daughter and I had gone to see Rainbow Kitten Surprise on the Thursday night, and then we went back on Sunday to see Mount Joy. Now, unfortunately, Folk Fest this year, as seems to be the case the last few years, was pretty rainy. We were pretty drenched. A lot of people were pretty drenched, but that didn't mean we didn't have a good time listening to the music and enjoying the festival. But I wanted to show you one of the things that I got while I was there. Maybe I told you about this last time. But a local artist, a local to me artist, Naked and Frayed, who is an embroidery, I would say an embroidery artist. She will make, she does a lot of pet portraits. She will do like pictures of your home if you like. You can commission her to do works, but she also does some do-it-yourself kits. And this is one that I really wanted to get this year because she was a vendor at at Edmonton Folk Fest. And I got this one, which is an embroidery of the hill of Edmonton Folk Fest. And if you've ever been to Edmonton Folk Fest, you will know that it occurs at the bottom of a ski hill. So this tent is at the bottom of a hill, and then people set their tarps and blankets up all the way up the hill with the city of Edmonton in the background. And then as night falls and it gets darker, people light candles in the audience. So that's what all these little candles are. I got the sunset version. So if I just flip it around quietly to show you that mine has a beautiful sunset painting. Her kits are really great. The instructions are very good. As you can see, all I have to do is fill this in. There's going to be a lot of French knots again. The last picture I did, also an Edmonton landmark, which is the Walterdale Bridge, a lot of French knots. So this one also will have quite a few French knots, I think, but it's going to look like this. And there's the sunset option and also just sort of this regular blue one. Again, all the instructions are there. Lots of embroidery thread, as you can see, a needle, an instruction book. So at some point over the next few months, I will start this. I'm not in a huge rush. I did want to get it at Folk Fest. I think it's a nice memory, and it will go in my collection of sort of embroideries and pictures of local to me things. So Folk Fest is something that we attend. The Walterdale Bridge is sort of a landmark in Edmonton. I also have some mountain pictures that are, I guess, pretty personal because we do tend to vacation in the mountains quite a bit, as a lot of people from Alberta do. We're very close to the Rocky Mountains, Jasper and Banff being a 4-hour drive. So for us to go there for vacations or even for a weekend is not unheard of. Hello, sir. I have with me today my production associate and partner, co-producer and co-host, Blue. He would really like a treat right now. Let's see if we can get through all the things that I purchased before we reward the young man. Okay, can you wait a little bit? Thank you. So that is the embroidery that I got at Folk Fest. Now, the weekend after Folk Fest, my family and I traveled to Seattle for a few days. From Edmonton, it's a quick 2-hour flight, so I can't complain. It's pretty easy to get to Seattle from here. And we were going to see a couple more bands. We saw Hosier on the Thursday night, and we saw the Lumineers on the Saturday night. So we had a really great time, a really great weekend. And while we were there, my older daughter and I took a little trip to Bainbridge Island, which, if you are familiar, is home to a couple of different yarn stores, one of which is the Lamb and the Kid. And once you get off the ferry, it's like a 5-minute walk. So pop by the Lamb and the Kid because they do have some bases that are I would say pretty unique to them. So I got a sweater's worth of this beautiful yarn. I got 5 skeins in total. For some reason right now I'm really into this tomatoey red color. You take it, you can take my word that I got 5 of these. This is called Big Birdie. It is an air and weight yarn, and I've used it before. I actually purchased some the last time I was on Bainbridge Island with a friend of mine. They had a beautiful scarf as a shop sample, and both my friend and I fell hard and bought all the yarn to make it. I really enjoy wearing that scarf, and now I've gotten enough to make a sweater. So this yarn is an air and weight, I think I said that. It is 79% Surrey alpaca and 21% silk. So it's beautiful. It's gonna make a super lightweight and lofty sweater. It's 174 yards in 100 grams, but it's super fluffy and soft. The only thing I'm gonna have to be able to pay attention to is the variation in the skeins. And because this is hand-dyed yarn, which we all know, that's just how it goes. So as I'm knitting, I'm going to have to be probably doing some helical knitting to make sure that the color distribution is pretty even. Sorry, we had a bit of a security issue, which Blue took care of, but now he is chewing on something so that we can have an actual conversation. Anyway, I got the Lamb & Kid beautiful air and weight Surrey alpaca. It is so soft. But now I see it's coming unraveled. It's gonna make such a nice wintry sweater. And I do have I do have a pattern in mind for this, which I will talk to you about a little later. So that's what I bought at the Lamb & Kid, which if you've never been there, it's a really beautiful shop. The walls are really, really dark. And it sort of allows the colorful yarn to kind of pop against these dark, dark walls. I didn't take any video of it this time. To be honest, we were in a bit of a rush. And I didn't have tons of time to spend, but I have done some other videos of a trip to Bainbridge Island, which maybe I'll link to in the show notes below if you'd like to see the inside of the Lamb & Kid. Then we strolled down the street, not very far, I would say maybe a 5-10 minute walk from the Lamb & Kid is another store called The Mercery. They used to be a little bit farther down, but they have since moved since the last time I was there. And they're just sort of off the main street. The Mercery carries a different line of yarns than the Lamb & Kid. The Lamb & Kid basically only carries their own yarns that they hand dye themselves, as well as some spin cycles. And the Mercery carries some more European brands of yarns like Durham Natura and Knitting for Olive. They're both beautiful shops and they both have yarns that I really like. So they were both worth a visit. And honestly, the Mercery is about a 5-10 minute walk from the Lamb & Kid, so it's very easy to visit both in a short period of time. I picked up something that I'm just still getting used to shopping for, and that is some fleece. I bought this beautiful braid. Of course, I had to ask the ladies at the till how familiar they are with spinning and if this was something that is sort of beginner friendly, and they assured me that it is. So this is by Pigment and Ply, which they have a really beautiful label. And this braid is 100% blue faced Leicester, 4-ounce fiber braid. So I have been spinning some Corriedale, I have spun some Merino, and I'm really interested in trying my hand at spinning different wools just to see what it is that I like. I know what I like to knit with, but I don't know how that translates to the spinning end of things. So it's also been interesting to spin different fibers and to see like how that feels as spinning and then what the resulting yarn is like. It's been an education, even though it's only been a couple of months. So anyway, Blue Face Leicester is going on the on the list of things to spin. And I feel like this is going to be great autumn spinning. Just feels very autumnal, doesn't it? I feel like this is going to make some really great autumn spinning. And so maybe in October, when the leaves are turning and it's cooler and it's starting to be spooky, this might be a fun thing to try spinning. And that is all of the things that I have brought home in the last couple of weeks. It's been really fun to experience some different places and events, and also to sort of not indulge, but maybe to like be shopping for, be interested in different crafts. Usually yarn is the easiest thing for me to shop for because I know what I can do with yarn. If I buy a skein of fingering weight, I know what I can make with it. I know I can add it to something else. I can make some pair of socks, I can make a small scarf, I can make a hat. But things like fiber, that's new to me. And so I'm slowly dipping my toe into different types of fiber that I can spin. And then the embroidery, I did know that I wanted to get that one because I feel like it's a nice souvenir or reminder of Folk Fest, which happens every year, and it's such a good time. So many people enjoy it. So let's get on to what I have been making. I have one finished project in the last couple of weeks. Partly, I think, because we have been pretty busy, partly because I have been working on a test knit, which I can't show you right now. If you've never done a test knit before, some designers are happy to let you show what they're knitting or they're designing while you're test knitting their patterns as sort of a way of maybe drumming up some interest in the pattern for when it comes out. And some people prefer to have everything kind of not hush hush, but they would prefer to do the big announcement of their patterns themselves once all of the little kinks and problems have been worked out of the pattern. Part of what test knitting is trying out the pattern, seeing if it makes sense as a knitter, seeing if it works for you as a knitter, and any adjustments that you make or might be helpful to the pattern can be shared with the designer. So it kind of works out the kinks of a pattern, and then as a test knitter, you get the pattern for free. So right now I am test knitting a dog sweater by Stephen West. So I can tell you that much. And he has a new collection of dog sweaters coming out this fall, one of which I'm test knitting right now for my good friend Blue, but I can't share it with you. It's what I took as my trip knitting, and actually I got a lot of it done. I guess that's one of the benefits of owning a medium-sized dog, is that it doesn't take too long to knit a sweater. But I still have a bit more to go, and I have until September 1st to finish it and to send them some pictures and my comments and that sort of thing. So usually test knitting does happen on a deadline. They like to know your feedback in a timely manner so they can release the pattern on time. So I think we can look forward to a whole collection of doggy sweaters from Stephen West this fall. I've seen some pictures of some of them, and a lot of them look really, really tempting to knit. So look forward to that this fall. Which is why I don't have too many finished things, but I do have the first pair in Summerlee's Cuff Club Volume 2, the August pair. And I did, I think, what a lot of people did and combined the two sections of this pattern. So Summer had two options. You could knit a pair of socks with this fun twisted cable, and you could knit a pair of socks with this lovely colorwork chart. And I think a lot of us chose to do both. So just to combine the two. So I did this lovely little cabled stitch. It's a 2-stitch cable, which means you don't really need a cable needle, and you can do it without switching, like slipping the stitch off and slipping it on. Summer gives very good instructions on how to do that. And then we have some flowers. Now I chose to do 2 colors, so a deep green as the stems. Maybe this one's easier to see. And this orchid color for the flowers, and then I did a colorful orchid colored toe. I used some leftover yarns for, actually every bit of this is leftovers. The orchid and this deep green are from a Pop Rocks pullover that I did that's really rainbow colored and fun. This speckled one is a Polka Dot Creek birthday colorway from last year. And I did a whole pair of socks in this and I had some left over. Ordinarily, I don't use speckled for color work, but I just thought it might be a fun way to use up some leftovers. It does, I feel like on this sock, it's not too bad, but on this sock, it does, it makes the color work a little less showy. But you know, I'm knitting so many color work cuff socks, I'm okay with a little variation. So here they are. I knit my size, which is a 64 stitch sock, and I have about a 9-inch foot from heel to toe. So that's my first pair in the volume 2 of Summerlee's Cuff Club. Now I have been working on a bigger project, as I often do. I'm the type of knitter who likes to have one small thing on the go and one larger thing on the go. I know some people who like to have many projects sort of in various stages of completion, but my preference is to have something kind of small and something kind of large. The small thing might be socks, as you saw, a hat, maybe a small scarf, something like that. And the larger thing is usually a sweater or maybe a shawl. And I just find that that balance works really well for me. So right now, my larger item is the Ooey Gooey Sweater. This sweater, I feel like I've been dragging my feet. It's just taking me a while to get this thing done. And it probably for various reasons. It's summertime, we're busy, we've been doing lots of fun things, and I've been making other things too. But let me just show you where I'm at. So I think the last time we spoke, I definitely had this collar done. I'm using Mississippi Marsala, which is this sort of orangey, burgundy, very earthy tones. It's a dyed in the wool by Spin Cycle. So it's a fingering weight yarn. It's a sport weight yarn, but my skein is a little on the lighter side, and I think it's airing towards fingering. But I still think it looks really good, and it's blending well with this main color yarn, which is a 100% Currydale. It's called Magpie Fibers Nest Sport, and this is the Magpie colorway. I have completed the body, as you can see, and I did add a fair amount because Andrea Mowry just has a short body, and my body is different than hers. That should surprise nobody. And I guess that's one of the great things about knitting your own clothes is that you can adjust things to suit yourself. So I added, I think I added about 4 inches to the body before I started the rather substantial rib. It's a 3.5-inch rib at the bottom there. But for me and for my comfort level, I just needed to add that length. And you absolutely can do that because you are the knitter. You get to decide what you want to do. But having knit a whole lot of ribbing at the end, I did an Italian sewn bind off, which I think always looks very nice. Let me just show you that up close and personal. Hopefully you can see. It's just a really nice rolled edge and a nice finish. And I think you can see, I mean, this looks really sucky-inny, my ribbing, partly because you do size down your needles quite a bit. I knit my body on a 3.5 millimeter needle, and the ribbing is done on a 2.75 millimeter needle. Plus it's 1x1 ribbing, and it does that. But the great thing about 1x1 ribbing and an Italian sewn bind off is it's super stretchy. Like I can stretch that right out. So I think when I block it, I will block it out a bit so that it's not like super pulling in on the hem. But with the hemline, with this much ribbing, it is going to pull in a bit. So I am looking forward to blocking this, but I'm pretty sure that I'll get a really good growth, I guess, in the hem section. Now I have knit nearly an entire first sleeve. And you know, I don't know, sometimes I complain about sleeves, but honestly, sleeves don't really take that long to knit. the body is way worse than sleeves, in my opinion. And what I usually do, and maybe you've seen me do this in the past, is I'll knit the sweater to maybe a couple inches past where you divide for the sleeves, and then I'll go and I'll knit the sleeves because they're fast. And then I'll just knit the body out. And that allows me to make sure that the sleeves are the length I want. If I'm worried about running out of yarn, the body can be a little bit shorter, but I could then just knit all the yarn that I have to make sure that I have enough sort of for the sleeves. And then the body just is what it is. For this sweater, I knew I had tons of yarn. And so I did the whole body first. And now I'm just like working on the sleeves. And it's honestly, the first one went really quick. Let me show you what I'm doing. I did do something that Andrea Mowry recommends, and that is go up a needle size for the sleeve. The theory is that when we're knitting on a smaller circumference, whether that's socks or mittens or whatever, we tend to knit a little bit tighter. And so in order to loosen up our gauge a little bit, you can go up a needle size. So I went from 3.5 millimeter, which I used for the whole body, to 3.75 millimeter for the sleeve. I do use a 12-inch circular for the sleeves. I just like to be able to go round and round and round and round. Now, when I was knitting this sweater, I used one skein of yarn, of the main color yarn, until I got to the division for the sleeves and the body. Then when I started knitting the body, I did helical knitting to make sure I didn't get funny pooling or anything, because this is hand-dyed yarn again. And then for the hem, when I started the ribbing, I just went back to one skein. Partly because I think it's tricky to do ribbing in a helical knitting because you're always slipping three. Anyway, and with ribbing, because your gauge is changing, I was going down a needle size, I'm knitting and purling, I wasn't as worried about pooling. So that's how I managed my yarn through this whole sweater. So this is all one skein, and then helical knitting, and then one skein again. Now, when I got to the sleeve, because the sleeve decreases happen from almost the top of the sleeve down, I just used one skein. So I didn't do any helical knitting. And it is a little stripy, but I don't find it bad. And I think on camera, it's a little bit more obvious than it is in real person. In real life. In person, real life. Now, I have done the color work at the bottom, and I'm really very close to being done. Again, I switched down to the 2.75 millimeter needles for the ribbing, and I have very little left to go before I do another 3 needle bind off. And then it's just one more sleeve, and this sweater is done. It's been a fun knit. I think that part of why the sleeves have gone really fast is because I wanted to knit, I wanted to get to this color work at the bottom. It is a little bit uneven at the moment, as is this, as is this color work. Excuse me. And that's just because I haven't blocked it. Once I block it, it will all smooth out very nicely. Now this is interesting because this sleeve is quite orangey going into burgundy, but the next sleeve, the color work is going to be quite different, and that's okay. That's the beauty of Spin Cycle. That's why we like it so much. So that's my Ooey Gooey progress. And I'll be done this sweater quite soon, which I'm actually quite excited about. This is going to be one of my sweaters for autumn yarn season. So I have a couple of yarny events coming up. One is the Prairie Fiber Festival, which is held in Lacombe every year. It's a one-day festival, classes and shopping, and I've really enjoyed going the last few years. So I may be wearing this. Hopefully it's a cool day. But that's my plan. But now that my Ooey Gooey is sort of nearing the finish line, the end is in sight, I do have some plans for some more fall knits. So I thought I'd share those with you now. So once my Ooey Gooey sweater is complete and off the needles, my next planned sweater is going to be the jean sweater. Now this is a sweater I've been planning since the spring, and it's going to be a little knit along with a friend of mine. We both were super excited about Canadian Yarn Dyer's collection that came out this spring. The dyer is called Sunday Fiber Co. And she was putting out a Wes Anderson collection based on the movies of Wes Anderson and his very sort of unique color palette and aesthetic. It was a great a great color palette. And if you're interested, I think she still has some on her website as well. She is going to be at Knit City in Vancouver, which I will be at. That's my next yarny event for this fall. And so my friend and I are going to knit some sweaters, the jean sweater. Hopefully we can both have them done so we can wear them together to show the lovely ladies at Sunday Fiber Co. So let me show you, first let me show you what the jean sweater looks like. It's a really fun pullover. It's lacy with some feather and fan, some puffy sleeves, and I think it'll be really cute for fall. I just think this is very, very much my style, I think. So I'm looking forward to casting this on. The colors that I got from what she called the Grand Collection are these two. Now I have 4 skeins of this pale blue, which is called Christofferson. And then I have 3 skeins of this really tomatoey red color, which probably looks familiar, called Team Zizou. Again, based on movies from Wes Anderson. But I think these two striped together are going to be really, really fun. This will be sort of the main color, so I think cuffs, the neckline will be in this fun pale blue color, and then associated stripes with the red. This yarn is called Falkland DK. It's 100% Falkland wool, and as the name suggests, it is a DK. It is 215 meters and 100 grams. And as I said, I have quite a bit of yarn. So I should be just fine in terms of finishing the sweater. And if I have extra, I'm thinking I might make myself a hat. Yes? Can we agree that that would be adorable? But we'll see. So this yarn is going to get wound up soon and be on my needles, hopefully by the next time we meet. My only reservation is this, this tomato color that I am very obsessed with and sort of excited to get on my needles also has the potential to be a bleeder. Now, by that I mean something that will bleed into other colors as it is soaked or washed. So I'm going to do a little research. I've been inspired by Paper Knits. Hi, Kirsten, if you're watching. I'm going to just take some of this yarn. I'll cut a couple inches, and I'll cut a couple inches of this yarn, and I'm going to soak them together. I'm going to start with a wool wash and some like lukewarm water, and I'll see if I get any color transfer, because I feel like that's how I would wash this sweater. So I'm going to start with my baseline, which is kind of lukewarm water, a bit of wool wash, and the 2 yarns, and I'll see if I get any color bleeding or transfer. And then I'm going to go from there. I may be forced to harness the power of science, as Kirsten did, and do some experimenting on how to control color bleeding if it becomes an issue. But the first thing I'm going to do is just take the yarn and soak it and see if it's something I need to be worried about, because maybe it's not. Maybe it's not going to transfer at all. And if that's the case, I'm happy to get knitting. But if it does, then I'm going to have to start playing with some variables. So color transfer can happen. In my experience, it's going to happen if you have a very strongly colored yarn. And in my experience, again, it tends to be reds or really, really deep, like navies and blues. That's not to say it can't happen with other colors. So I am going to do a little research before I even cast on to make sure that I'm prepared. So my plan for these two is the jean sweater. Again, I think this is going to look really great with some denim, like a pale wide leg jean, a lacy top. Super excited about that. Now, the next fall sweater that I have that I'm excited about is, to no one's surprise, this fabulous color, Big Birdie. Now I'm thinking I'm going to make the fancy sweater. The fancy sweater is a free pattern put out by the Lamb Kid for this yarn. And again, it is, it's just a really plain sweater. With a fuzzy yarn like this, I think that anything with cabling or texture would be completely lost. Well, maybe not completely lost, but I think that the beauty of this yarn is its like the fuzz and the color. And so I'm just going to knit a really plain pullover sweater that will be light and airy, because this is quite a light and airy yarn, but also super cozy for colder weather months, and a pop of color. So that'll be lots of fun. So the fancy pullover, I believe, is going to be my sweater of choice for this. Now, the pattern, as listed, has like a doubled up collar, which makes it kind of, it gives it more structure, so it stands up, and I'm not really interested in that. So I'm probably just going to do a really plain kind of crew neck, and then again, a very plain pullover with this beautiful yarn. And I think those are my fall sweater plans right now. Finish my Ooey Gooey, obviously, that's nearly done, and I think that'll be a great sweater that I can wear a ton. The jean sweater, again, I think it's going to be super cute with jeans, and maybe some boots or some Mary Janes. So here I am planning my fall wardrobe. And then the fancy sweater for when things start to get even cooler. I think it's going to be a great sweater for pulling over when it's cooler, just as an added layer of warmth. Do you have some fall knitting plans? I also have some holiday knitting plans already, like a holiday kind of sparkly sweater, which I've probably talked about in the past, but it's definitely on my mind that once the fancy's done, that will be the next one. But I guess you're gonna have to wait and see what that is. Do you have patterns that you're really interested in knitting for this fall, or maybe colors that you're mildly obsessed with? Like, look at this. It's a very similar hue. So this is my color this season, I think. How about you? Are you excited about reds, or do reds scare you off? I'm not so much worried about the Big Birdie leaching color, because it's a one color sweater. So if it does bleed a bit in the wash, it's just in the wash, it's just the one color. But I am going to do a bit of research, or at least a little bit of experimenting with the yarn for the jean sweater, because I really don't want that to bleed into the pale blue. I think part of the beauty of that sweater is going to be that contrast between the warm tomatoey red and the cool pale blue. Are you knitting for the fall already? Are you getting excited for yarny season? I hope so. It's one of my favorite times of year, to be honest. I love the fall. I love when the days start to get shorter and the shadows get longer. And I love being cozy and fires in the evening and warm beverages. And I'm all for fall. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I hope you are too. I hope in the next couple of weeks you find time to do some things you like to do. I know I plan on knitting a lot. Take care, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.